Welcome back, everyone. Time now for another episode of Catholic Cocktails. This is the weekly video production of Salt and Light Catholic Radio in Boise, because we're wacky that way. This is a weekly get-together. We meet at our favorite Irish pub, and we hoist a glass. We share a toast to some of our favorite Catholic saints in the faith. And, of course, it's based on this lovely book here, Drinking with the Saints by Dr. Michael Foley.
Each week we introduce to you a saint of the week. They could either be, their feast could be on the day we release the episode, which is Fridays, in case you haven't been following. And then it might also be just during that week. So we'll introduce everything here, lay it all out for you, and then we'll send it over to Teresa Zapeta, who will then bring it back to us. Our bartender will make the drink, and then we talk about what we learned and try the drink.
All right. Well, this week we are going to highlight St. Katharine Drexel and the cocktail that we're making in her honor, the Philadelphia Philly.
I'm excited for this one.
Yeah, it's going to be yummy.
It's going to be real good.
And we're going to find out the whole Philadelphia connection with Teresa's lesson on St. Katharine Drexel.
Yes.
So, what do we need to make this drink? Do you know?
It's just the same old stuff: cocktail glass, some ice, and a shaker. When I say a cocktail glass, I think it's a little bit up to interpretation. It's not necessarily like a martini glass, or because that's the usual cocktail glass that you think of.
Okay.
But we've been using a coupe glass for those of you who've been following as of late. But yeah, I just wanted to clarify because it's not specific about what glass.
Pretty much whatever glassware you have around the house.
Yeah, honestly. Yeah. I mean, except for
whatever gets the drink to your mouth.
As long as this action is happening, you'll be fine.
You're golden. All right, so we know what we're going to make and the things we need to make it. We'll learn how with our bartender here in just a little bit. But right now, let's learn more about St. Katharine Drexel from our area saint expert. Here's Teresa Zapeta.
On March 3rd, we lift a glass in honor of St. Katharine Drexel. Recently, I heard a sermon by Bishop Robert Barron, in which he quoted the Catholic author Flannery O'Connor. She wrote, "In a room of deaf people, you must shout to get their attention." The bishop went on to add that in a world of spiritually deaf people, God has to sometimes shout to get our attention. And in the life of St. Katharine Drexel, God shouted to get the world's attention. Indeed, a Philadelphia newspaper headline shouted this: "Miss Drexel enters a Catholic convent, gives up $7 million. Katharine Drexel was born to Francis Drexel, an international banker in Philadelphia. Her mother died merely 5 weeks after she was born. And 2 years later, Frances marries Emma. Both her father and her stepmother were an example of Christian holiness. Her father, despite his busy and hectic schedule, spent 30 minutes a day in prayer. Her stepmother, Emma, invited poor into their home 3 afternoons a week. And her 3 stepdaughters also accompanied her when she made visits to the homes of the poor, bringing food, clothing, medicine, whatever was needed. And the girls spent their summers teaching catechism. Emma would go on to die, and Francis died in 1885. He left $15.5 million. 10% of it he willed to specific charities. The remainder was to be divided amongst his 3 daughters. That was $14 million, about $400 million on today's market. That meant the girls at that time had $1,000 a day, or in today's market, $29,000 a day. They were very wealthy. To protect his daughters from fortune hunters, he crafted the will such that the girls would have their income from the estate at their disposal. But at their death, the remainder would go to their children. And if they had no children, it would be donated to specific charities. Katharine would eventually use her fortune to found the Sisters of the Blessed Sacrament and establish 145 missions, 50 schools for African Americans, 12 schools for Native Americans, and Xavier University of Louisiana, which is the historically first Black Catholic college in the United States. All of these institutions were established, founded, set up in such a way that upon Katharine's death, they would be able to be self-sufficient. Now, despite Katharine's success, she did not always meet with acceptance. For example, in 1922, the Ku Klux Klan threatened the pastor and threatened to bomb the school of some of her sisters in Beaumont, Texas. The sisters went to their defense. They began to pray. And within a few days, a tornado came through, destroying the headquarters of the KKK and killing 2 of its members. The KKK ceased threatening the sisters. They learned that you don't mess with these nuns. Now, I started by saying God sometimes has to shout to get our attention. So it's very interesting that the 2 miracles that were authenticated and paved the way for Katharine's canonization was the miraculous healing of 2 children, 2 deaf children. And now let's get your attention by teaching you how to make a cocktail, the Philadelphia Philly, to honor one of Philadelphia's greatest treasures, St. Katharine Drexel.
Thanks, Teresa. As we do every week, we film Catholic cocktails at the beautiful Harp Irish Pub and Eatery in Meridian. And behind the bar, once again, our dear friend Josie, and she is going to whip up a Philadelphia Philly. Wow, these are yummy ingredients. Probably my 3 favorite things: milk, chocolate, and bourbon. It's the 3 main food groups, right? So we've chosen this one here. This is a small batch Kentucky bourbon, 1792. Why is it named that? Because that is the year that the state of Kentucky joined the Union.
Dang!
So next week, I'll be your bartender, and Josie can sit here because I know more about booze than she does. But I'm also twice as old, so maybe 3 times. Walk us through, what do we need here to make this yummy drink?
Well, you hit us with some really good history here. They'll have kind of chocolate here.
Mm-hmm. Cream de cacao. That's how you say that, in case someone orders it down the road. And half, which is half
And half.
cream and half milk. See? You come to Catholic cocktails to learn. So there you go. I think I'm going to get out of the way so Josie can actually do her job. So let's watch her make the Philadelphia Philly.
All right. So we're going to start with the 1792. And we're going to do just 1 ounce of it into a shaker. Then we'll do 1 ounce of the chocolate. Then 1 ounce of our half and half. Then we'll shake this precisely 40 times. Ooh. Just kidding, I don't know how many times that was, but need a strainer. It's gonna be kind of hard. And there we have it.
All right, moment of truth.
All right, I'm
Ladies
ready.
first.
Looks like a Frosty.
It
A
does.
Delicious Frosty.
New from Wendy's, the Philadelphia Philly Frosty, because that's fun to say. Christmas in a cup.
It's pretty.
Some
pretty.
chocolate shavings would really class that up, huh?
Yeah. Josie, what shavings on this?
Yeah, that's a 6 out of 5 right there.
Wow, 6 out of 5. He says, delicious.
Well, my favorite things:
No, I
chocolate,
know.
bourbon,
and milk.
and milk.
So like ice cream. Chocolate, bourbon, and milk.
So, St. Katharine Drexel, another in a long line of those folks who gave up fame and fortune to follow God,
Yeah.
and she did it with such flair,
The flair. Yeah.
thumbing her nose
exactly.
at people like the KKK. It's like,
Yeah,
wow, you
She
go,
was,
girl.
I know. She was not afraid at all. It was a big deal for her to choose the religious life, being who she was and from the family that she
Made
was.
the headlines for crying out loud.
Yeah, she like gave up like a $7 million fortune, which, you know, is a lot now, but think about
Back then.
back then.
Yeah.
That was a lot. Yeah. And then also what she was kind of involved in, there wasn't really a huge like social justice movement back then.
True.
If you think about it. Like it was kind of starting, you know, and everyone was like, oh right, everyone's a human being now, you know. But
Despite the color of your skin,
yeah, exactly.
you are still a beloved child of God.
So for her to kind of give up everything, the money, and then also that was kind of her charism, you might say, that she chose. It's
Working
pretty-
with the Native Americans,
shocking,
the
yeah.
African Americans. Xavier University still stands, first Black American college. So
Yeah.
as Teresa had
Big
mentioned.
stuff. Big stuff.
Well, how often do we do that though? Do we kind of rise above what society says
Yeah.
we should be doing, and,
Well, and putting the
and we
work
go
in,
above and beyond?
putting the work in to focus, like we know what's important,
Yeah.
right? And we know what we should be spending our time on, but I think sometimes it's just overwhelming to stop and be like, all right, I'm going to dedicate my time towards this thing, or I'm going to dedicate my time towards that other thing, you know? And to follow that call, I mean, I think we all hear God's voice in our life, but, you know, actually choosing to follow it
Right.
is the issue.
And two, now that we're in Lent, we're looking at prayer and fasting and almsgiving.
Yeah.
And so this is that time that we need to push ourselves beyond our comfort level, our
Yeah.
comfort zone. And when you see that person that needs that extra hand,
Right.
go do that.
I think like this time is so special insofar as you can turn it into a gift for somebody else.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like this is uncomfortable for me, or you're challenging yourself in some way, whether it be adding prayer or taking away something. You could do either or. I think taking the opportunity to take that suffering and be like, this person needs it, right? Because they say that God never turns down suffering if you turn it up to him as a gift.
Wow.
So, I mean, if you're sitting there like, oh, wow, I really, really want whatever you gave up. Let's say you gave up alcohol, you know, and you're like, wow, I really, really want to drink.
Obviously, we did not.
Well, yeah, other things that we gave up. But, yeah, it's such a gift. And once you start realizing that suffering is a gift and giving it to other people, it becomes way easier and even enjoyable to embrace your suffering. So,
Redemptive suffering.
yeah, exactly.
So if you don't know what that is, that would be something that you could challenge yourself with this Lenten
That's
season.
a deep topic.
It is.
We probably won't go into it
No,
here. But
no, we don't have enough time here.
good stuff.
But definitely something worth looking into for sure.
Yep.
And I do like the story that Teresa shared about the headquarters of the Ku Klux Klan
Yeah.
getting destroyed
It's
when
like it's karma a little bit.
Yeah.
It's like God's justice.
Yes, exactly. So you like that too?
I do.
Yeah.
It's good stuff.
The Philadelphia Philly. All right. Well, who are we going to be talking about next week?
So next week we are going to be learning about the 40 Holy Martyrs. It just so happens to also be my birthday. I just want to
Does it?
It does, yes. Which is pretty cool to have that feast on your birthday. I just want to throw that out there. And their
right.
story is really, really cool. So I'm excited to talk about them.
Okay. Well, in the meantime, we would just encourage you to please hit subscribe. Also, to
Smash it.
thumbs up
Like it.
and turn your notifications on. Yes. Trying to make sure I get the checklist
I
in
know.
there.
You got homework. Do it.
But that way you don't miss any of this. Every week we film here at the Harp Irish Pub and Eatery in Meridian, and we sure appreciate the staff here for helping us out week in and week out.
Indeed.
And if you do live in the Boise area, we would encourage you to stop by, especially with St. Patrick's Day right around
Yes.
the corner.
They're having a huge event. You should check it out.
Yeah, but if you don't, then
Eh,
don't.
You're lost.
But make a point to visit us sometime. We'd love to have you here. But until then, St. Katharine Drexel,
Pray
pray for us. Cheers.
Cheers, everybody.